Welcome to the heart of Mexico City, where the roar of the engines meets the passion of racing at the iconic Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Nestled among the mountainous hills, the only thing higher than the elevation are the competitors' will to win. The unique track will challenge each driver, from the high-speed straights to the challenging fender-to-fender turns. This race was a test of skill, strategy, and sheer determination. We saw wheel-to-wheel battles, daring moves, and moments that define the day. In today's video, we'll take you from the green flag to the checkered, covering the pivotal moments that made this race an instant classic. So buckle up and get ready for an exciting ride as we discuss NASCAR's international road trip. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our NASCAR Mexico City race review. I just wanted to do a Bill Weber-style introduction. I've been playing a lot of NASCAR 2005. You can see that on the channel. And before each race, he does an outstanding introduction. So, wanted to give that a try, at least for nostalgia's sake. So, starting the race, we'll go ahead and open up with qualifying. We'll take a look at the results. Shane Van Gisbergen sitting on pole, with Ryan Preece in second, Ross Chastain third, Ty Gibbs fourth, Michael McDowell fifth, Kyle Larson sixth, Todd Gilliland seventh, AJ Allmendinger eighth, Joe Logano ninth, and Daniel Suarez 10th. I want to point out a couple other drivers. So all the way back in like row 15, we have Alex Bowman, and row 16, we have Christopher Bell. So individually 29th and 31st. That'll play out later on in the race. So beginning with lap 1, Shane Van Gisbergen takes the lead. Ross Chastain to second. Carson Hocevar had his off-track excursion, one of many throughout the race. And caution came out for rain. So as soon as the race began, we immediately had a yellow, and then the strategy began. On the restart, Cindric and Buescher end up staying out on slicks because they didn't think it was going to continue to rain, and they thought that would be the best strategy. They both got eaten up on the restart. Ty Gibbs takes the lead. Multiple cars off track. Austin Dillon, William Byron, and Ryan Blaney all go off in turn 4 if they continue. And then on lap 7, Kyle Busch spins on the corner entry and takes out Kyle Larson, Justin Haley, AJ Allmendinger, and also involves Zane Smith and Chase Briscoe. So this ends up putting Kyle Busch into the garage. He could not continue. There was too much damage. Kyle Larson also had to go back to the garage. He was able to continue later on, but he was like 39 laps down. The toe links continued to be a weak point in this next-gen car. So NASCAR, I really wish they would figure something out there where if the toe link has to be the weak point, maybe design a system where the teams can drop a new one in quicker. That way it doesn't completely ruin their day. Because, I mean, you didn't see this level of issues with the old cars, so I hope they figure out something there. Justin Haley actually received the worst body damage out of all of this, but he was able to continue because where he got a lot of his damage was just flush on the rear bumper. So Justin Haley continues in the race. Chris Buescher, after that caution, he comes in, he gives up the slick strategy, he goes in and takes rain tires. Austin Cindric stays on track. And at this point in the race, the slick tires were getting eaten up by the wets. I mean, they were clearly the play, but Austin Cindric's idea was once it starts to dry out, maybe we'll have a big enough advantage to work our way back through the field. Very interesting strategy. I mean, if you're going to just follow the leader, you're going to follow the leader. So sometimes gambling at these road course races pays off. On the restart, Ty Gibbs was started P1. Shane Van Gisbergen retakes the lead with Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez in 3rd and 4th. So the Trackhouse cars at this point in the race were doing very well. The hometown guy, the hometown hero, Daniel Suarez, was running up front after his heroic win yesterday in the Xfinity race, where he started dead last due to a crash in qualifying and ended up winning the race in a backup car. So that was very cool to see. The fans were very excited. So overall, feel-good story. Lap 12, Noah Gragson around. That's the first of many incidents for Noah. He just seems to run into a lot of issues whenever we have these road course races. Ryan Preece takes stage 1, holding off Ryan Blaney, and both declined to pit before the stage break. That was somewhat of a strategy play. I mean, there were a lot of different strategies going on throughout this race. Ryan Preece just wanted the stage point. He's on that cut line. He's on the bubble. So getting those stage points really helped out. Let's go ahead and review the stage 1 results. So we have Ryan Preece taking 10 points and the playoff point. In first, Ryan Blaney second, Ross Chastain third, Michael McDowell fourth, Todd Gilliland fifth, Eric Jones sixth, Carson Hocevar seventh, Bubba Wallace eighth, Chase Elliott ninth, and Daniel Suarez 10th. Now this isn't necessarily reflective of how they were running in stage 1, because many of the leaders actually came down and chose to pit beforehand. That way they would be set up better going into stage 2. Most of the drivers that were on the wets initially came down to take slicks. McDowell stayed out, aiming for a 2-stop race, maybe a short 3-stop race. So McDowell was really going to try to use up every last bit of his wet tires and try to play the track position game. Another interesting strategy. Lap 25, they restart stage 2. Michael McDowell and Carson Hocevar lead them off, so we have the Spire cars out front. Suarez grabs the lead. Noah Gragson goes around, and Ty Gibbs ends up reclaiming the lead shortly after. Lap 26, John Hunter Nemechek around off the nose of Tyler Reddick, just incidental contact. They both continue. And Alex Bowman, starting all the way back in 29th, he enters the top 10. Lap 27, Todd Gilliland around off the nose of Ryan Preece. Lap 28, McDowell and Suarez, they both ditch their wet tires. And then on lap 29, Stenhouse, the last car on wet tires, pits for slicks. All the cars are now back on slick tires. Lap 32, Ryan Truex spins, bring out a caution. So Ryan Truex, he was filling in for Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin just had his first baby boy, so congrats to Denny Hamlin. But Ryan Truex seemed to be having a somewhat rough day. Chase Briscoe receives the free pass, and Kyle Busch officially retired from the race. They tried to work on the car, they just couldn't get it back in working order. Lap 35, the field restarts, Ty Gibbs leads them off. And on lap 36, Logano runs off the track in turn 4 from 10th place. He continues on. Lap 39, Eric Jones pits for a flat left front tire, most likely caused by flat spotting the tires, locking the brakes, but he's able to continue. Lap 41, Cindric pits from 4th, his first stop of the race. So the slick tire strategy and playing track position actually ended up working out for Cindric for a while. So pretty good strategy there. Lap 43, Ty Gibbs pits from the lead, and Shane Van Gisbergen reclaims the lead while running a different strategy, waiting for more rain. So SVG's team thought rain was about 15 minutes out. That rain actually didn't end up coming, so it really threw their strategy off, but they were able to overcome this. Shane Van Gisbergen takes stage 2, Bowman picking up 8 stage points in 3rd. Let's take a look at the stage 2 results. Shane Van Gisbergen in 1st, Christopher Bell 2nd, Alex Bowman 3rd, Ryan Blaney 4th, Michael McDowell 5th, Austin Dillon 6th, Chris Buescher 7th, Riley Herbst 8th, Carson Hocevar 9th, and Daniel Suarez in 10th. Since the introduction of the stage cautions at the road courses, traditionally, whoever wins stage 2 usually doesn't go on to win the race. Usually they'll short pit, that way they can keep their track position once the next stage resumes. So Shane Van Gisbergen was starting in somewhat of a hole, but with his talent and with the car they had, he was confident that whatever strategy they took, they would press forward. As a result of the Stage 2 caution, Justin Haley gets the free pass, so even after all the damage, he was able to somewhat come back and put together something of a decent run. Ryan Blaney, Austin Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., AJ Allmendinger, Todd Gilliland, Catherine Legg, Tyler Reddick, and Cody Ware all pit. On lap 50, Stage 3 begins. Shane Van Gisbergen leads them off. Michael McDowell runs off the track. Chase Briscoe also off track. Joey Logano off track as well. Christopher Bell takes the lead, and Bowman to 3rd. Ross Chastain ends up getting spun out, but he continues. Lap 52, Ricky Stenhouse spins out. Shane Van Gisbergen retakes the lead on lap 52. Lap 60, the final pit window opens. So you see the strategy start to play out. The people that had short pitted earlier or had ran long, they were going to have to take more fuel. Guys were going to run longer and see how that plays out, see if they can time a caution well. So it was really shaping up to be an interesting strategy race, which is such an overlooked component of these road course races, and something that the stage racing kind of dampens is the on-track strategy, like whether you're going to run a 2-stop or a 3-stop or whatever. So it's always interesting to see how the strategies play out, and that was just increased with how the weather played out during this race. Lap 61, Christopher Bell came in for what would be his final stop. Then on lap 63, Shane Van Gisbergen pits from a near 6-second lead for what was his final stop. Ty Gibbs ends up assuming the lead. Lap 64, Carson Hocevar spins and stalls it, leading to a yellow on the speedway. Zane Smith receives the free pass. Now this was interesting because a lot of cars had already come in and completed their pit stops, so would the cars that were on track be at a disadvantage, losing their track position? Would they try to run longer? So it was definitely an interesting time for a caution. And it would be Carson Hocevar. He had a very rough day. He had speed. He was able to make some passes, but overall, it seems like his aggression got the best of him today. Before the restart, Shane Van Gisbergen was reporting a possible loose wheel. The team reviewed the footage. They were in the pit stall for 15 seconds. So, there's no way that they missed one of those single lugs. But Shane was convinced that something was either loose or broken. So, had everybody kind of on edge considering he had the lead. SVG ends up holding the lead on the restart, Bowman to second. And on lap 73, Joey Logano takes out Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon's kind of sitting in the middle of the track, and Josh Berry just gets stuck there, so they both lose a ton of positions, while Joey Logano continues on. Riley Herbst went around off the nose of William Byron, and Riley Herbst was, again, sitting kind of in the middle of the track, and he attempts to rejoin, and he almost murders Ricky Stenhouse Jr. attempting to rejoin. It was very dangerous. Kyle Larson, out of nowhere, ends up taking the fastest lap. So they put the car back together. They were around 39 laps down. And Kyle Larson goes down and lays down the fastest lap, which he was all the way back in, I believe, around 36th position at the time. So not even in contention, but it does get him that one bonus point. So that was pretty wild. The car looked pretty unscathed. It's just those toe links are so fragile, and it took them so long to repair them. It took them forever to get back into the race. But once they did, hey, they were able to earn that one bonus point and gain, I think, one position. With 15 to go, Christopher Bell gets by Bowman for second place. Elliott up to P4. Hocevar takes out Ricky Stenhouse. So Carson Hocevar and Ricky Stenhouse once again getting together, and they were running into each other all during this race. That's just when it came to a head. With 10 to go, Elliott passes Bowman for P3. And with 4 to go, William Byron moves into the top 10. He really had a slow day. He was back there in the thick of it, constantly getting into little accidents, not wrecks, but where he may be responsible for pushing someone off track or someone may be pushing him off track. And he really just never laid down a rhythm. But towards the end, he ends up sneaking into the top 10. SVG ends up getting it done with over a 17-second lead and locks himself into the playoffs. That's something we'll talk about that I don't agree with. I don't think one win should get you in, especially when you're not even in the top 20 in points. We'll discuss that in a second. Shane Van Gisbergen had a great burnout. He was so far ahead of most of the field. When he did the burnout in the stadium section of the course, the field just had to stop for him. There was so much smoke, and he was crossing the track multiple times. And Catherine Legg didn't know what to do. She was right behind him and just, proceeded with caution. But it was a weird place to do a burnout. Usually the field's coming to pits. That way you have the whole front stretch to yourself. But he was right in the middle of the course. So, I would have been a little frustrated if I was one of the competitors. But it was a fantastic burnout, especially in front of all the fans. And then to top it off, when a Trackhouse driver wins, they always do something interesting. You have Ross Chastain with his melon smash. You have Daniel Suarez with his pinata smash. And now we have revealed Shane Van Gisbergen's rugby kick. So he signed a rugby ball and then kicked it over the fence and into the fan. So one fan got a very nice souvenir. Now, once the cars got to pit road, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. went over and visited Carson Hocevar, which is a very smart move. He went over and visited him, stuck half his body in the window, and had some very choice words for Carson Hocevar. We'll throw up some related tweets on the screen. But he had some very sharp words for him, and it'll make next week at Pocono very interesting because Pocono is a very high-speed track where several drivers have been injured. Some drivers have met their end. So that's not really the best track for revenge. So we'll see how that plays out. It's also Amazon Prime's last week of coverage, which is quite tragic because I've been enjoying their coverage very greatly. They have excellent pre-race coverage. They have excellent post-race coverage. Their coverage of practice and qualifying is fantastic. And I enjoy that practice and qualifying is being broadcast on YouTube, so more people can view that, even if they're not even looking for it. They may just have it suggested to them. So it's great exposure for the sport. They did end up having a podium-style victory lane. So we had Shane Van Gisbergen in first, Christopher Bell in second, and we had Chase Elliott in third. I'm not a huge fan of the podium-style celebration. It's supposed to be one win, 39 losers. but the podium is something that is commonplace in international and sports car racing. So it may be kind of a nod to NASCAR going overseas, and it does create for some, cool social media style moments, but it kind of takes away from the special, feel of victory lane, just one driver being the focus. I also, if I was a competitor, I wouldn't want to be up on a podium. If I know the lead was within my grasp, the win, what matters, and I fell short, I wouldn't want to be up there, paraded in front of everyone as one of the top tier losers. But maybe that's just my opinion, and maybe you guys have a different opinion. If you do have an opinion on the podium style victory lane, go ahead and type that out in the comments, and maybe we can discuss that further. Once again, I just have to give kudos to Amazon Prime. Their coverage has been fantastic, and I'm sorely going to miss them once we move on to TNT, which I'm sure their coverage will be fine. But no matter what they can do on television, there's no way the format can touch what they've been doing on Amazon Prime. And also, just having the 1080p 60 frames per second coverage has been fantastic compared to usually on TV, we're getting a 720p broadcast. That's unacceptable in 2025. All right, let's go ahead and review the race results. So, like we said with the podium, SVG first, Christopher Bell second, Chase Elliott third. We'll make a few notes here. Christopher Bell, starting from the, 31st row, amazing comeback for him. Chase Elliott never really showed flash or this incredible speed. He just methodically worked his way through the field, which was quite a challenge because this track had some high-speed portions, but it also had some wheel-to-wheel, really beat and bang in slow sections. So it's really like a short track feel to a road course race. And maybe that's just driver inexperience. Maybe that's just part of the weather that was manufacturing this style racing. It'd be interesting to see if NASCAR goes in the future, if the style of racing calms down or if it stays the same. In P4, last week we talked about Alex Bowman having that hard wreck and having a bad section of his season, going from 5th in points down to the cut line. Well, he comes home in P4, and he ran up front for a lot of the race, and at certain times had a little more speed than SVG, but Shane Van Gisbergen on the long run, nobody was touching him. Nobody. Michael McDowell, one of the guys that people look to on road courses, ends up bringing it home in 5th. John Hunter Nemechek, even after spinning and going through the grass so many times, brings it home in 6th. Chase Briscoe 7th. Cole Custer 8th. William Byron 9th. He had, a similarly slow day to Elliott, just didn't make it quite as far up the running order. But a good top 10 for William Byron. Salvages what probably was a frustrating day. Chris Buescher in 10th. He never really quite recovered from that strategy from staying on the slicks while it was raining. But overall, a decent day for a guy who's really good at road courses. Ty Gibbs in 11th. This was a frustrating finish for Ty Gibbs, I'm sure, because he ran better than SVG at certain points. But again, he didn't have the long run speed. But Ty Gibbs was showing why he is in the Cup Series. Even though he's had a rough couple of years, we know from his dominance in the Xfinity Series, he is a good driver. He's a really good road course driver. We've seen him outdrive Kyle Larson in the Xfinity Series at road courses. And I think the wet weather plus the lower downforce of being high elevation, I think that really played into Ty Gibbs' favor and really turned the balance of the next-gen car towards something he's more comfortable with. But once he got mired back in traffic, he burnt his rear tires off and just didn't have that drive through the corners like he had previously. Bubba Wallace in 12th. AJ Allmendinger, another guy we look towards on the road courses, in 13th. Ryan Blaney, 14th. 15th, Ryan Preece. 16th, Ross Chastain. He ran well throughout portions of the day, but ended up fading. Eric Jones, 17th. 18th, Austin Cindric. So a disappointing finish for a guy that showed some decent speed and very interesting strategy that they called throughout the race. We have the hometown hero, Daniel Suarez, finishing in 19th. Not quite the finish they were looking for. Tyler Reddick in 20th. 21st, Joey Logano. Todd Gilliland, 22nd. Ryan Truex filling in for Denny Hamlin in 23rd. Justin Haley recovering from the massive damage he had, 24th. Brad Keselowski, 25th. 26th, Josh Berry. 27th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Austin Dillon, 28th. Riley Herbst, 29th. Noah Gragson, 30th. Cody Ware, 31st. Catherine Legg, kept it clean all day, nothing flashy, but also didn't cause a lot of problems like a few different drivers did. So she's in 32nd. Ty Dillon had a fantastic day. The results don't show it. He's down here in 33rd. But at times, he was running up towards the top 5 and deep into the top 10. So he had a great day until he started getting shoved around. And I'm not really sure where the fall off was, how he got down to 33rd, but the results definitely don't reflect how he was performing. Carson Hocevar in 34th. Again, just a very aggressive day. Not the results he would have liked. Zane Smith, 35th. Kyle Larson with all the damage ends up in 36th, but he does have the fastest lap, so one extra bonus point there. And then Kyle Busch, an extremely disappointing day. He thought he had a great car. They weren't prepared for the wet weather, and one mistake ends up ending his day, so quite sad. Overall, I thought it was a very entertaining race. There were some high-speed sections. There were some excellent sections of the track to set up passes. There were also very interesting sections that were low speed and set up this massive wheel-to-wheel action. There's several times we saw the field just stack up 3, 4, sometimes maybe even 5 wide going into these low-speed sections and just seeing the drivers fight it out. And that's something that the composite body on the next-gen car enables. We wouldn't have been able to pull this off if we were still in the sheet metal bodies. There would have been a lot more tire rubs and a lot more people taken out of the race. But on the other side of the argument, we wouldn't have had issues with the toe links if it was the old car. So, we may never get a definitive answer, but it was a fantastic race, I thought. Shane Van Gisbergen kind of ran away at the end, but the racing throughout the field compensated for the lack of competition towards the front, at least at the end of the race. A few other notes. We're going to Pocono next week. It'll be Prime's last weekend. We've mentioned that a few times. It'll be their last weekend. After that, we're going to TNT. We'll keep an eye on what happens with Hocevar and Stenhouse. And let's review the standings. Let's see how they stack up. We have William Byron in first, Kyle Larson second, Christopher Bell third, Chase Elliott fourth, Denny Hamlin fifth, Tyler Reddick sixth, Ryan Blaney seventh, Ross Chastain eighth, Joey Logano ninth, Bubba Wallace 10th, 11th Chase Briscoe, 12th Alex Bowman, 13th Chris Buescher, 14th Ryan Preece and Austin Cindric in 15th, and Michael McDowell in 16th. Now, these standings do not reflect the drivers with wins, so now that Shane Van Gisbergen has won, it's going to push him way up into the playoffs and bump a more deserving driver out. This is just my opinion, but I do not believe one win should lock you into the playoffs. I think that's stupid. I understand why they do it. It creates this interest. Oh, yeah, if we just go out there and get that one win, we gamble it, we're locked in. Shane Van Gisbergen was 33rd in the standings before this race. He's sitting at 30th now after the win, barely above Ty Dillon and just below Justin Haley. You're telling me a driver 30th in the standings is now locked into the playoffs over guys like Kyle Busch, Josh Berry, Carson Hocevar, AJ Allmendinger, guys that are way higher on the points, have been much more consistent throughout the season. It's absolutely ridiculous. Just the whole playoff system is ridiculous. Having one race decide the championship is so stupid, especially depending on which track you go to. It's going to favor certain teams. It's going to favor certain drivers. So as long as you make it to that final round, you have one good race. There you go. You really only have to have a few good races in the season. As long as you do good in the cutoff races, as long as you win one race to get in the playoffs, and then you win the final race, there you go. Like Joey Logano did last season, ran poorly all season, wins a race, and then, ends up winning the championship. It's just a disgusting format. It makes the season-long standings matter very little. I know there's still a regular season championship, but it's really not the same. It really isn't. I don't care what they say. It's not as prestigious. I don't care that Joey Logano is a multi-time champion. It doesn't matter with the playoff system. If it's the season-long results, if the battle's tight, good. That's super interesting. If it's a runaway blowout points lead, good for them. That just shows the level of dominance and consistency that is required to win a season-long points format. Anyway, I think that'll end our rant Thank you guys for joining us. It's been fun doing these race reviews and race previews. If you want a little more context and look into the track that we were at this week in Mexico City, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez racetrack, we did have a race preview, so keep an eye out for those as we go forward. And thank you guys for the support on these NASCAR-related videos. We're still getting into the flow of it, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts on any part or anything we discussed, go ahead and drop a comment. And if it's something that is compelling, maybe we make a video and continue the discussion about. So thank you guys for watching. If you like it, like it. If you hate it, keep hating it. And yeah, that'll do it. Hope to see you guys in the next one.